Hello, from the KUOW newsroom, this is Seattle Now. I'm Patricia Murphy with a roundup of today's top stories. It's Monday, June 16th. The threat of deportations is sowing fear among the farm workers who usually show up this time of year to pick cherries. That's becoming a problem for Washington cherry farmers. Monica Nicholsberg has more.
It was supposed to be a phenomenal year for Washington cherries. Then headlines and social media posts about ICE arrests started going viral. Here's Eric Zavala from Bluebird, a Wenatchee growers co-op.
We have a really, really good crop in Washington state, and good size, good quality. Everything is there except labor.
Zavala stressed that there haven't been any ICE raids on local farms, but anxiety is keeping pickers home at the worst possible time. Cherries need to be picked within a few days of ripening. Zavala says if that doesn't happen,
we're probably going to lose 10-20% of small growers just because they have invested all they can into making that orchard work.
Monica Nicholsberg, KUOW News.
Glass recycling is back in Seattle after the city's only bottle manufacturing plant closed last year. Seattle Public Utilities continued to collect glass, but without a manufacturer, heaps of old bottles piled up in South Seattle warehouses with nowhere to go. Now, Seattle officials say newly completed rail work has enabled the city to tap into long-distance markets for its glass. McKenna Morrigan is with Seattle Public Utilities.
The challenge with glass is that it is heavy. Transporting it over longer distances, especially by truck, can reduce the environmental benefits and also increase the costs of recycling.
The company that crushes Seattle's old bottles was able to get its plant in Soto connected to the rail lines. Now it's shipping crushed glass to manufacturers of bottles and fiberglass in other states. Recycling officials wouldn't specify where the glass is heading, but the nation's biggest bottle manufacturing plant is in Modesto, California. And now for a quick recap of some big news from the weekend. Dozens of people with pending immigration cases got a surprise notice to check in this weekend at a federal office in Tukwila. This led to confrontations with ICE and local police and some attorneys not being able to represent their clients. Gustavo Segrero has the report.
For some people seeking legal status, including asylum, ICE check-ins can be a usual part of the process. But the last-minute notices alarmed many. The message from ICE said failure to report would be considered a violation. Leslie Irizarry Hogan was first in line with one of her clients early Saturday morning.
They're scared, they want to cancel, they want to give up. And I'm like, no, we gotta continue, right? This is your chance.
Her client was quickly checked in and then out, but Irizarry Hogan wasn't allowed to accompany her. ICE agents told her that was because of safety concerns due to a growing crowd. Supporters and legal observers had also showed up to the DHS field office and directed people to lawyers there. But Irizarry Hogan says legal help can only go so far.
I'm helping a person one at a time, but really I think we need to show the government that we do not agree with these policies nationwide.
Throughout the weekend, an estimated 200 immigrants came. Not many had a lawyer. 2 were reportedly detained. That sparked a blockade by protesters Saturday attempting to stop ICE agents from leaving the facility. Tukwila police used pepper spray and blast balls to clear the crowd. An ICE special response team also assisted. Gustavo Segrero, KUOW News.
And tens of thousands of people marched in Seattle on Saturday as part of a national protest against President Donald Trump. It was one of the largest demonstrations in the city's history. Casey Martin has more from the scene.
The streets of Seattle haven't been this packed since the Women's March during Trump's first term. After a rally at Capitol Hill's Calenderson Park, a huge crowd walked to Seattle Center. It came after a week of anti-ICE protests in Seattle, where some people were arrested. Joanna Campos said she marched for her family, some who are undocumented.
They're just scared. They're scared to leave their homes. They're scared to go to work, and it's painful. It's painful to see that.
Campos said she'll keep showing up to protests like this. Police said there were no arrests at Saturday's march. At Seattle Center, I'm Casey Martin, KUOW News.
The Washington State Clemency and Pardon Board will double its size and start paying its members in order to cut down on wait times for reviewing cases. The board holds hearings and makes recommendations to the governor, who then decides whether to grant clemency or a pardon. Right now, the board is made up of 5 volunteers who meet 4 times a year. An official with the Seattle Clemency Project tells the Washington State Standard that it can take years to get a hearing, a process that used to take just a couple of months. The new state law looks to speed up that process by expanding the board and paying members up to $100 a day. It also requires the new 10-member board to include representatives of different backgrounds, such as formerly incarcerated people, a victim's advocate, and a tribal member. The chair of the King County Council is using his position to speak out against President Donald Trump's travel ban. The ban took effect last week and may soon expand to more countries. KNKX reporter Freddie Menares has more.
Council Chair Gurmai Zahalai's family immigrated to South Seattle from Sudan when he was 3 years old. Sudan is among 19 countries listed on a travel ban to the U.S. that went into effect on Monday. Zahalai says the ban furthers stereotypes and misconceptions. He spoke while holding his 1-year-old daughter, Jazzy, and talked about raising her during a turbulent time.
This is a time of deep insecurity and anxiety for a lot of people. And so I absolutely, when I hold my daughter, I think about what kind of world she's going to be raised in and how long it's going to take to reverse this instability that our president and his administration are creating.
Among the countries included in the ban, only 2, Iran and Cuba, are officially sanctioned as state sponsors of terrorism. In Seattle, I'm Freddie Monares.
Washington State will collect more than $321 million from the state's latest carbon auction. The Climate Commitment Act requires large polluters to buy allowances for every ton of carbon they emit. That money pays for programs to lower greenhouse gas emissions or help people to adapt to climate change. Tiffany Wilk Chang is with the nonprofit Climate Solutions. She says those projects include smaller items that are showing up in communities across the state.
Like free e-bikes in communities like Shoreline. They distributed 100 free e-bikes, and that helps folks be less car dependent. Heat pumps, subsidies, air filters, literally providing air filters for people's homes to clean indoor air quality. And then people will start to see electric vehicle charging infrastructure popping up all over the place.
The auctions also fund larger scale projects such as converting Washington State ferries to hybrid electrics and building a solar-powered microgrid in eastern Washington to serve as a backup power source during wildfires. In total, the Climate Commitment Act has raised $3.2 billion so far. That's all today from the KUOW newsroom in Seattle. Our producer is Brooklyn Jamerson Flowers, and I'm Patricia Murphy. Seattle Now and KUOW are members of the NPR network. See you tomorrow.